Archangel Michael is very protective and was given a sword based on his bravery. So for some of you guys, being brave enough to walk away, or since you're always I ain't gonna say you always alone, but for some of you, it's just like a journey that you've been on by yourself. I'm not gonna hold you. This is something that could protect you along your journey. And I'm looking at the birds fly. So that was probably the most important part of this reading, because I ain't seen them birds the whole morning. Welcome back to your video. As we get started, I just want to say thank all of you for pulling up today. Definitely appreciate it. And feel free, when it resonates, to hit the like button. It's like an energy boost for the channel to keep us alive. Don't forget, you can get a free card pull or question answered throughout the month of July in exchange for any comment, like, or share being screenshot and emailed to me directly. You can also visit the store at astronauthuchi.etsy.com. My contact information is below in the description box or on the About tab here on YouTube. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, I didn't do your coffee cup reading this morning because it seemed as if some dark energy or a specific situation that had been consistent for the few days or a couple of weeks had cleared up. And it was like an aspect of yourself or something that protects you was sitting there with what was left of it. So I'll wait until there's inspiration to do your morning coffee cup readings, but the pick a cards and additional readings have been uploaded on the channel. So, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you receive the alerts. What I have here was very interesting, right? I know a lot of you love the way that I think, because anybody could flip cards and read tarot, right? Wrong. We have the oracle cards of the whirling whirlpools, majestic depths, and the sovereign seas. Oh, that is interesting. I don't know if there's anyone considering like sovereign citizenship. I did have some flashes in a meditation a few days ago about sovereign. It didn't say sea mastery, but some of you may be looking into that, or we'll see where it's going. Okay, I'll just say that. Now, intuitively, when I saw these cards, I saw that this image was very focused, okay, because this is like a pointy nose. All of these represent like some sort of divine guidance, because the sun is not apparent, but the rays are. So it just goes like from source to the messengers or whatnot. I love the lighting here as well as reflected here, and also a glimpse of the sun shining even with the king. Okay, so we'll get to that. But I noticed with this particular card, like I said, there was sharp focus on the future. Okay, and this may have been in the past. It says, in the swirling chaos of life, I maintain focus, darting toward the opportunities that arise. So it's about being very focused and even being mentally aware and looking for doors to open or your opportunities. Now, in the present moment, what struck me was it's, instead of going up or forward, it's like down and moving into the past. And I noticed that the nose isn't as sharp, it's kind of rounded. So I wondered if in the past you had focus, aspirations, or were open to and looking for opportunities. And there could be something about the present moment and we're tiptoeing back into the past. Now, I don't know if it's a behavior. I feel strongly for some of you, it could be a relationship, friendships, or it involves another person. But I saw the number 15 and it wasn't my favorite. I am a huge fan of discipline and order and structure and Capricorn, especially if it's just in the transits. And most of us have Capricorn somewhere in our charts. But I just didn't really see in the past being focused on the future, but in the present being, focused on the past just seems like how someone could be kept in a loop. Okay. Now the outcome, they always like fight if I'm recording and doing work, they just can't be cordial. Every time I'm talking to you guys, they just go haywire. So excuse the noise in the background. If it gets like too loud, I'll pause the video and come back to it in a moment. But for your future or outcome, I love that the king is facing forward and his staff or whatever this is planted. And usually when it's planted, there's like confidence, there's like pride, there's like assurance. It's not defensive, it's not raised. There's no fear of, being overthrown or dealing with issues of the past. And I'm sure that the seating gesture with the legs slightly raised or comfortably planted on the knee, I feel that there's some contentment, confidence, and assurance even toward the future. But I am sitting forward comfortably in the present moment, and mastery is like key. Okay. So while there may have been clouds in the water, okay, which is kind of like the Seven of Cups, about a future situation, somehow it clears up. So that's a good thing. The clouds are now where they belong, and it seems as if the water flowing doesn't affect him. So it may be emotions, it could be confusion. If someone is dealing with, addictions or, like I said, behaviors, those are things that may be discussed or present in the past or the future. Another thing that I noticed, could you guys not do that? Please? Okay. Another thing that I noticed was all of this was around water. And this deck has many different animals, many different storylines. So I thought about my water signs. I thought about us currently being in Cancer season. And of course, I thought about my Pisces. It gave me the image of the King of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. Scorpio represents death, the past, transformations, spirit, all kind of things, right? Where it could fall in your chart. If you have Capricorn, Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, anywhere there, and the transits that could be affecting it favorably or unfavorably at the moment. I also noticed that you have 24, 15, and 42. Those are all sixes. So your numerology or master number for the day revolves around 6. Now 66 will be considered a master number, but 3 6s have, different meanings throughout different cultures. Biblically, it talks about the man's number or the number of man, and is associated with a hostile creature. I don't like hostile creatures, but with the King of Cups and shadow and that Scorpio energy, just be mindful of your shadow or people in your environment, because it could be a little bit of a, I don't want to say a buzzkill, but it's a negative person, I feel, that causes some sort of confusion, even if it's mentally and not just chaos. Kind of like if it were a relationship and they were toxic, it's like they love me not type deal. Or if you have friends or family members, co-workers, children, whoever, that are sort of pessimistic, just be mindful of that. Now, spiritually, the 666 encourages us to refocus. And that's initially what I felt like here. Seeing it tells you to pay closer attention to any fixation you currently have on an earthly problem and the details. It talks about an obsession with getting everything right and taking things too seriously. It could be a distraction from the bigger picture. So getting everything right and taking things too seriously could keep us here, which is like hangman energy. But to have the, magician, the king, the favorable aspect, the manifestation, what it is you truly want, hope, and need, or just to have peace in your life. Here we have the king rested in the present without any negative behaviors toward the past, or any anxiety or lower vibrational thinking and feelings about the future. Now, if I have any, I don't want to say scientists, but those of you that are metaphysicians and or are into like quantum healing or science. Okay, dudes, stop it. Now, for your soul purpose, your mission, or any messages that Spirit could have for you, it often pertains to God's goal for humanity. And those of you that aren't religious, that's why I mentioned it could just be your soul purpose, your calling, could be connected to karmic numbers, life paths, and things of that nature, where there's a behavior, a person, a thought, an ideology that's not fully in alignment to where you're going. Okay, this could even be about possessions in the past, because I'm noticing nothing is here but either confusion or magic. Okay, but in this one with the number 15, where it's literally presence here, as in someone's presence, because we have precision, presence, and mastery. So that talks about focus, present moment, for to evolve, I believe, like along your path, your journey, and this object in the background and the direction that he's going just could talk about an actual 3D physical material item of the past. Not for all of you, but some of you. Okay, it's kind of like the ship coming in and sunk, and you going back down there trying to figure out how to get it. And I don't know if that's favorable, because it could be a distraction and or puts you in a mindset of behavior to activate aspects of you that you may have already overcome or are already being asked to overcome. All right. Now, another thing that I like to remind everyone is that if you're into universal laws, the 666 is about like atoms, electrons, and neutrons, which are the markups of human beings. So when they say it's the number of man, and the devil just represents man's desires and instincts, there's nothing like spooky, creepy, dark, or devilish. You know what I mean? It basically talks about the markup of something and what it is, and then its capacity in that degree. So I just wanted to say that for some of you, they're like atomic numbers. I don't want to spook anybody. We'll take some clarifiers out to see what additional messages that Spirit has for us. But I thought that was very interesting. Precision, presence, and mastery. So we'll start with the number 24, which there are 24 hours in a day, baby. We have justice. Notice that that sword is raised, beloved. And then here we have some sort of collaboration, lovers, a decision to make. It also talks about our choices. So in a past situation, there could have been an onlooking to the future about a situation that involved compromise or inclusion. Okay. Now, justice talks about fairness. And I know that in this card specifically, I have seen many illustrators identify like the masculine energy being dominant and the feminine energy always taking a more submissive approach. He will be pushing down, she's pushing up. Now together they could have balance. But if she's like creating this stable ground and he's getting all the credit for it, someone could, want revenge or justice, an apology, or for someone to be diplomatic and fair. If this is about one person, it just talks about diplomacy and fairness, integrity, and for some of you, even the law. So this could be spirit saying focus on the universal laws according to like the markup of man and the numbers that we just went over. But for others of you, it could be, like I said, about a decision, inclusion, a project. In relationships, I've even seen this connected to polygamy, where there's just somebody gets more than somebody else within a situation. And that's why fairness could be important. And if you want exclusion or to be chosen without sharing so much or getting the short end of the stick in a situation, this is probably why the Eight of Cups with the Empress is like in my hand. Also, we talked about the Seven of Cups, which talked about like either manifestations or some sort of confusion. The Eight of Cups asks us to leave it alone, to go for our happy ending, which could be full-fledged abundance that talks about whatever creative project that you're working on alone. And also, for those of you that may have been in unfair relationships or partnerships, this could talk about, like I said, choices being chosen. And then marriage. Okay. For the presence, the number 15, majestic depths, we have the Ace of Pentacles. I see the Eight of Swords, the Tower, and the Wheel of Fortune. So for some of us, we may have thought that something was beyond our control. The Wheel of Fortune says that our past efforts, past life, past thoughts, something that was done, said, or created mentally has something to do with it, even if we don't see it that way. And you also have the Eight of Swords here. You have Temperance. So there's some sort of change. The King of Wands, the Moon, the Page of Wands. Let me see here. The Knight of Swords. I do feel that it has to do with creative thinking and the level of support either coming into or out of that situation. Someone may have gotten very defensive or took a stance on getting that happy ending that we just talked about. You're also being given aces. So for some of you, it could be a new relationship. It also talks about finances as well as emotions and like what really matters, because we're still talking about behaviors and materialism and how something works. So you may find the value or your true value, what matters to you, in either the materials or something financial or things that make you happy and your soul, like, right? So it's kind of like keeping my job because it pays me, or doing something creative or in the spiritual realm because it feels like my calling or something that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, if it's a relationship, it could talk about the balance of common sense, practicality, and materials, as well as spirituality, the subconscious, conscious mind, and like true love. So something could be contractual versus spiritual, a real marriage versus a spiritual marriage, and somehow that manifesting and blending. Now, this is what you could have thought of that past person or a past ideology that you had, which could lead somebody to be kind of like a perfectionist and obsessed about having something a particular way. I could see that. Now, we still have some holding on to some past beliefs. So even though there was a tower, which talks about like breaking the glass ceiling and getting us out of the illusion of the Seven of Cups, which means that we had a focus on the future that could have been an illusion. And then once we get into the present moment, which is, you know, what was the future in the past, there's something that still isn't settled. So now we're looking back, and that's what I'm saying. It's like a loop. You know what I mean? So I hope that kind of makes sense. And then with the Four of Pentacles and the the Three of Pentacles with the Ace of Pentacles, maybe that's why the Four of Pentacles is here with the Hierophant. It could be an institution. It may be a bank. It could be an account. Some of you guys may receive a large lump sum in your accounts from past efforts or situations. Ooh, legal situations, or even just some sort of injustice in the past that, like I said, was you and another. Possibly, you know, well, there's no possibly. It was definitely a soulmate, but I don't know if it was like intimate or just like coworker, family member. This is like a coworker. So there could have been someone like in a social group or a coworker, and I feel like some injustice was done, where there's going to be abundance and maybe some finances that balances out your life. So it's like no need to be worried about the future or holding on to the past. And that's crazy because we did have a reading that was like about Roman's revenge. And for some of you, here is I'm speechless. I know y'all just heard me shuffling the cards because I'm going to move over to the King of Cups. But the Nine of Cups had come out. Okay, I just had to be nosy. The Nine of Cups had come out with the Death card. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure because Spirit play like that. I've seen magic in these cards. And it was just like Spirit or something on the other side. I don't care if it's an ancestor or some spirit that you've trained, whatever the case. Kind of like, or even the universe, because that's what it said. Like, is the universe working in my favor? Or is there somebody out just like obsessively doing a thing, creating all of these events? It was crazy. So yeah, moving to our sovereign seas, and what I said appears to be like our King of Cups. Like, he looks like Ariel's dad. Okay, this could be the wish fulfillment. This is giving wishing well. I wish you well. I wish you well. Somebody getting cut off. I wish you well. A wish, another ace, and the Hermit. The Hermit does talk about spiritual journey, as we talked about diplomacy, figuring out what truly matters to you. For some of you, it's happiness. Others of you, it's finances. And some people just want to be able to think clearly and make better decisions. It's like to get out of confusion, as well as like have some means of protection. Archangel Michael is very protective and was given a sword based on his bravery. So for some of you guys, being brave enough to walk away, or since you're always I ain't gonna say you always alone, but for some of you, it's just like a journey that you've been on by yourself. I'm not gonna hold you. This is something that could protect you along your journey. And I'm looking at the birds fly. So that was probably the most important part of this reading, because I ain't seen them birds the whole morning. And now here they are. So the star could represent a guide because it's in the lantern for the Hermit. And this is like a companion almost. I don't know. Now it's giving something like, I don't know. I ain't gonna say I'm uncomfortable saying it, but it seems a little like a movie. It's kind of like you get this gift, a divine being, you get this wish fulfilled, and some sort of protection. And I feel like the protection, this is the future, and this represents like the past and the present, and each of them have some sort of connection to, I don't want to say revenge, but it's like a choice, how we use our discernment to make that choice when it comes to this situation that involved things outside of us, or possibly like this, I just want to say this situation without being too specific. And then this involves a lot of things, but this is just temperance, which could be tempering the shadow energy of this king that is the only way to mastery, honestly. It talks about alchemy or the alchemist. And I know the number 15 is also connected to the magician, 6s, 7s, okay? So for some of you, this could be about like your soul purpose and your path, and not so much about the other people, but there may have been some other people involved in it in the past, if that makes sense. Okay, so it may be work. So when I have coworker and work, it could have been a social setting, especially for those of you that are like creators. It also could have been literally about work. So whether this is mastery of self or mastery of your work, it just talks about consistency, repetition, and receiving. She has her hand extended. It talks about focus and intelligence. She's at the bottom of the deck. For some of you guys, this also represents that legality, because to me, the Queen of Swords is the lady in the Justice card. So that explains like the situation But the Queen of Swords here would represent the discernment, the wisdom, the patience, the observation, like the characters and habits that it took to do this. Okay, or somebody sending someone. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Look, when I said somebody sending someone, and I have referred to the Holy Spirit as more like a feminine energy. So people say that the Trinity or the Trine is one, but when I think of God, I think of Source that is everything, all things, like this. It can't even be explained. And when I think of what it manifests itself into sometimes, those could be people. Okay, see, I guess I'm right again. Those could be people that later we call like archangels, ascended masters, divine beings. I think that those are like manifestations of Source. And then like spirit is more so this invisible, unseen, conscious implement into a third dimension. So I've experienced spirit, and it's very feminine to me, because it's like some, I don't know, really sweet, patient, loving, warm grandmother or something. But I'm guessing, just like if, think about your grandmother, and if somebody bothered you, I think your grandmama is willing to go to hell with the people on your behalf. So while you keep working, being consistent, perfecting your craft, or working on your sole purpose, minding your business, I do feel like there's some increase coming to you. For letting things go, it liberates your soul and your spirit from being on this loop that could be Wheel of Fortune, generational curses, codependencies, whatever someone's addicted to or fixated on. It's like increases outside of that. As well as we did have the Empress and somebody wanting to be chosen. So it talks about possibly a wife or getting out of situationships, standing on your own for a while, becoming like the type of partner that the person you want would want back. I'm not going to hold you. And it seems like all of this work, all of this consistency, repetition leads to this. And this is usually a well-paid, attractive, beautiful woman. But for others of us, release just talks about whatever was in the account that was on hold, whatever may have been disputed. If there was some sort of dispute, this could be spiritual justice, or like literal justice in the courts, or in like your bank with a transaction or something like that. So savings account for some of you, that's crazy. And then we have a couple. For some of you, it's like a judge grants victory or recovery in a matter. See what I'm saying? And then also for some of you, it does talk about meditation. We've been talking about breathing and manifesting, and these tools and tips and hidden messages for the magician. So I feel like for the magician, focusing on people and materials may not get you to that upper echelon aspect of yourself. Okay? And then anyone dealing with their shadow, like over promising, overdoing anything, people pleasing, that leads to anger, disturbing behaviors, obsessions, perfectionism, blame, all that shit. There needs to be a level of discernment when engaging in social settings or situations that involve others. Because we both have our hand on this pentacle. So there was some sort of change, and then these two come together. So maybe we both got our hand on this change. And who gonna get it? It's like, well, justice gonna come in and say who gets it. Because somebody wants it just for the sake of wanting something, and then somebody truly deep down in their heart, in their spirit, in their soul, either deserves or wants something. And then here comes temperance to balance those things out. Because I know some people who are overly spiritual have these outdated beliefs when it comes to finances, like you got to deserve it, you got to work hard, or the people that got money are evil, robot, Illuminatis or whatever. And I'm like, that's why you broke. Don't block me. Don't leave the video now. That's exactly why money say, you heard what that fool said? And money just stay where it's at and not come to you, because that's not fair to even think like that. when you have to pay rent, you have to pay mortgage, you may or may not want the best foods. Organic foods are expensive. The best products, I like making natural products. Now, sometimes I implement a little gray magic in there, and sometimes I just use organic products because they're organic, and why not? I don't go buy expensive lotions and creams. I make my own. I make them for you guys. And I use natural products that you could probably even eat. You know what I'm saying? I don't recommend y'all chewing on my candles though, okay? But that's my point. Those things cost. Decent neighborhoods, if you have children, that cost. In case you have any medical emergencies, that cost. Treating yourself, it costs. I want a book collection. I just decided that I'm going to start back collecting books. I used to do it, but I got so wrapped up into life, I just forgot that I really like books, like ancient books that they make movies about, or just good finds, you know, like it ain't no more left and you just found it at some bookstore in the middle of nowhere or on eBay, right? That cost. So I don't know. The ideology about money versus spirituality, some of us may be working out some chemistry, right? Because it could be hindering you. And if you want to talk about it, we can. I do have some habit changing programs. I don't care if you need 28 days or 90 days, we could turn it around. So I'll take one more card here. It keeps, I was going to say, the High Priestess, the Queen of Swords, keeps like giving this message over here. So the Two of Coins does represent momentum. The High Priestess usually talks about like you becoming beyond this magician who's learning how to use the tools outside of him, getting this connection to internalizing, like using your internal magic. And that's what I be telling people. I don't really get butthurt about crazy people who'd be like, I'm gonna wish something on you. And it hasn't happened, by the way, not that I know of. But for those of you that may have experienced it, or those cards come up in your readings where people like, I'm gonna do some crazy voodoo magic, name in a jar, I'm gonna put your name in the graveyard with a bone and a cow tongue. I don't know what the fuck they be into, but that's cool. To me, that's like a magician, a person that may take their intentions or their emotions, use some things and do something, right? Me personally, my magic is internalized and is activated in my blood and my neurological system, and it connects me to beings that are beyond those little demons. Like archangels, ascended masters, God itself, the Holy Spirit, and each manifestation that God was, right? I don't think that any of those beings, as well as whatever star collective that I'm from, that knows that I'm here and is watching over me, I honestly feel like somebody's ancestors from 200 years ago or last week don't have nothing on the Seven Sisters, the Syrians, the Octurians, the Pleiadians. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that little earthly stuff that it don't bother me. And so that's what I think of when the High Priestess, that's why she probably don't care about nothing and she don't say nothing and she move in silence, because you talking or using all that energy for whatever you using it for has nothing to do with the person that has the spirit in their belly and like has been chosen by God itself. Now, with that said, for some of you, the change in your habits, relationships, beliefs, path may be inspired by the High Priestess, or could be the path that, you know, you've not chosen, that you've been chosen for. Which would mean for some of you, relationships are particular. The High Priestess is usually going to pop up with the Hierophant or the Magician. See what I'm saying? So these are people that have similar paths that if they even do engage in relationships, it's going to be something unorthodox and not common traditional You know what I mean? They're going to be soulmates. They're going to be two people that just happen to be together for a long time or end up on the same road next door to each other on the same street. It's like not something you're going to find on a dating site. It's not the typical traditional marriage. So, and I think it's going to find you, which is why it appears that sometimes super spiritual people or those that take a spiritual path, they don't even engage in relationships. It's like they don't have time to. It's a distraction. You don't see priests with girlfriends and wives, and you don't see nuns. It's like they take this oath of some sort, and you do have the page of wands at the bottom of the deck. So now this is getting like, I ain't gonna say creepy, but disappointing. Some of you, it's like some oaths or promises that were made could cause a missed opportunity. And look at the Emperor, which is usually a husband, but it's like somebody else's husband. So we'll talk about that later in the love reading. The Page of Wands, if we're talking about like dark energy coming up as the Five of Cups with the Emperor, it just says that there could be depression, sadness, missed opportunities, and what seems like bad luck. And to get out of that, right, the Emperor in this picture clearly is in control of his own demise. It's like you are in control. We also have this book here. So the page has letters, books, wands, stamping it, right? So it's like creating your own destiny. Using your energy to create your own destiny and to take control back by knowing that it's you. That's crazy. That's some old movie shit. Where you think something after your ass, or you cursed, or something is wrong, and it's your ass because you got this magic magician or high priestess sort of calling or capability, and you don't know how to use it, so you just manifesting a bunch of bullshit because you worry or have anxiety a lot. So you manifesting all of that. It ain't no curse, no spell, ain't nobody done no voodoo or nothing. So yeah, but there is going to be change. And something is building momentum. Michael comes in quick, okay? And then it could be work for some of you, spiritual work. So if you've been facing financial embarrassment and juggling, trying to understand, when are you going to get out of, like I said, normalities and do something that's more traditional to your personal path, it could be coming, but it may be your choice. And we don't want to miss any opportunities or whatnot. So there's that.